The desert was silent. The sun had already gone down, leaving behind a sky full of strange stars. The air was thin, and the land felt empty. Only the sound of the human's boots broke the silence as he walked across the dry ground. His name was Daniel. He was an explorer, a man who came from Earth to study faraway worlds. Daniel had been walking for hours. His water was almost gone, and his energy was low. He looked around and saw nothing but rocks and sand. He whispered to himself, "Maybe I chose the wrong planet. Nothing lives here." But then he froze. A sound. A voice. It was soft, but it was real. The voice came from behind him. Human. Are you single? Daniel's heart jumped. His hand went to the small blaster on his belt. He turned around slowly, ready to defend himself. But what he saw made him stop in shock. A child. It was not human. Its skin was pale blue, glowing under the starlight. Its eyes were large, shining like two small moons. The child stood only a few feet away, looking directly at him. Daniel blinked, unsure if his mind was playing tricks. He had been alone for so long that maybe he was hearing voices. But the child tilted its head and spoke again. "Human, are you single?" Daniel stared. His mouth went dry. He had heard many strange things in his travels, but never this. What?" he asked, his voice shaking. The child took a small step closer. "Are you alone? Do you have no mate?" Daniel felt his chest tighten. "Yes, I am alone." "But why? Do you ask me that?" The child's face brightened, almost as if it was happy. "Good. Then you must listen. My mother is very kind. You have to marry her." Daniel coughed, thinking he had misheard. "Marry your mother? What kind of joke is this?" The child shook its head quickly. "No joke. It is true. My mother is kind. She needs you." Daniel took a step back, his boots crunching against the sand. He wanted to laugh, but the seriousness in the child's voice stopped him. This was no trick. This was real. He looked around the desert. "Where is your mother? Where are your people?" The child pointed toward the horizon. The desert was dark, but far in the distance, Daniel thought he saw faint lights, like fireflies dancing in the night. "You must come," the child said. "You must meet her. If you do not, something bad will come." Daniel frowned. "Something bad? What do you mean?" The child's voice grew low. "The darkness, it is waiting. It will take everything. Only you can stop it. Only you can save my mother." Daniel's throat went dry. He didn't know whether to believe the child or not. Maybe this was some alien trick, a trap to lure him in. But the fear in the child's glowing eyes looked too real. He sighed and muttered, "This is crazy." The child looked at him, desperate. "Please, human, you must come now." Daniel turned his eyes to the desert once again. The distance flickered, almost calling to him. Something inside him whispered that his lonely journey was no longer just his own. Something strange had found him. Something that would change everything. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "All right, take me to your mother." The child smiled. For the first time, Daniel noticed its teeth were small and sharp as they began walking across the desert. Daniel felt uneasy. The air grew colder and the stars above seemed to fade. A low rumble passed under his feet, like the ground itself was warning him. "What was that?" Daniel asked, stopping. The child didn't answer. Instead, it kept walking, its glowing body moving like a lantern in the night. Daniel followed, but his hand never left the grip of his blaster. He knew he was walking into something unknown. Minutes passed. The lights on the horizon grew brighter. They looked like torches leading into the darkness. The child finally turned to him. Its voice was soft, but full of warning. If you say, "No, human," the darkness will come for all of us. Daniel's heart pounded. He realized this was not just about marriage. This was about survival. His own, and maybe an entire world's. The desert wind howled, carrying with it a strange sound. It was not the sound of the child. It was not the sound of Daniel's own footsteps. It was something else, something hidden in the dark. He felt eyes on him, watching, waiting, and, for the first time, Daniel wondered if he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. The desert stretched on like an endless sea of shadows. Daniel followed the glowing child, his boots crunching on the dry ground. The faint lights ahead were closer now, flickering like fire trapped in glass. He wanted to ask more questions, but the silence of the land pressed on his chest. Only the sound of wind filled his ears. It was not a normal wind. It carried whispers, voices, strange words he could not understand. Daniel tightened his grip on the blaster at his side. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice low. The child kept walking without turning its head. "To my mother. She waits for you." Daniel frowned. "Why me? I don't even know her." At that, the child finally stopped. It turned, its moon-like eyes glowing brighter. For a moment, the desert around them seemed darker, as if light itself bent toward the child's gaze. "Because you are human," the child said. "Because you are alone, and because the darkness fears you." Daniel's stomach twisted. Darkness. You keep saying that. The child tilted its head, listening to something Daniel could not hear. Then it whispered, "It follows us even now." Daniel turned, scanning the horizon. At first, he saw nothing. Only rock and sand. But then, far away, a shape moved, huge, silent, too large to be a trick of his eyes. He stepped closer to the child, lowering his voice. "What is that?" The child did not answer. Instead, it grabbed Daniel's hand. Skin was cold, almost like stone, but its grip was strong. "You must protect my mother," the child said. "She is the only one who can keep the darkness away. But she cannot do it alone. She needs you. If you refuse..." The child's voice broke, trembling. "If you refuse, she will die." Daniel pulled his hand back, uneasy. "Why me? I'm just a man. I came here to explore, not to marry someone, not to fight your monsters." The child's eyes glistened, reflecting the starlight like tears. "You are more than just a man. So prophecy says a traveler from the stars will join with my mother. Together, they will make a light strong enough to banish the dark." Daniel shook his head. "Prophecy. That sounds like a story. My world doesn't run on prophecies." The child stepped closer, its voice rising with urgency. "It is no story. Look behind you." Daniel spun around. The shape was closer now. No footsteps, no roar, but the ground itself trembled under its weight. The horizon rippled as if the beast was bending the desert. Its form was still hidden in shadow, but its presence pressed on Daniel's chest like a heavy stone. The child whispered, "Do you feel it? That is the darkness. It eats worlds. It has already taken many. It comes for us now." Daniel's throat went dry. He tried to speak, but words stuck in his mouth. The child's voice cut through the silence, sharp and desperate. "Only if you stand with my mother can we survive. You must marry her. You must choose us." Daniel stared at the child, heart racing. The idea was insane, impossible. He had left Earth to escape people, not to find a wife certainly, not an alien queen. But the shadow on the horizon was real. Too real. He looked again at the glowing lights ahead. They pulsed like a heartbeat, calling him forward. The child tugged at his sleeve. "Please, human, say yes. If you do not, the darkness will take everything. It will take you, too. Daniel wanted to say no. He wanted to turn around, run back to his ship, and leave this cursed world behind. But his ship was broken. His way home was gone, and now this strange child was offering him something he didn't expect. Purpose, he sighed, whispering more to himself than to the child. Maybe I don't have a choice. The child smiled faintly, though it's sharp. Little teeth made the smile look almost dangerous. Then come, it said. Come meet my mother. She is waiting. The lights ahead glowed brighter, guiding them into the unknown. Behind them, the shadow moved again, stretching across the desert like a wave of black water. Daniel felt his skin crawl. He realized that whatever waited for him at the end of this journey might decide not only his fate, but the fate of an entire world. And in the cold wind, he thought he heard a whisper. A deep, hungry voice carried on the air. Choose or be consumed. Word count, approximately 8. The journey through the desert felt endless. Daniel walked beside the glowing child, each step echoing in the cold silence of the night. The lights in the distance grew larger, brighter, until they no longer looked like fireflies, but like burning lanterns hidden deep in the earth. Finally, the sand gave way to stone. A crack in the ground opened before them, wide like the mouth of a cave. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the rocks, pulsing as if alive. The child stopped at the entrance and turned to Daniel. This is our home, it whispered. The darkness does not come here, not yet. Daniel stared into the cave. A warm light flickered from inside, but he felt no comfort. Instead, unease crawled up his spine. He stepped forward slowly, his hand still close to his blaster. The child walked ahead, and Daniel followed. As soon as they entered, the air changed. The desert's sharp coldness was gone, replaced by warmth and the faint smell of burning wood mixed with something sweet. The walls of the cave shimmered with crystals that glowed like tiny stars, lighting the way deeper inside. Daniel's eyes widened as the narrow passage opened into a vast chamber. An entire village stretched before him. Houses carved from stone curved around pools of glowing water. Bridges of bone and crystal connected tall towers that rose from the cavern floor. Lanterns floated in the air, moving slowly as if guided by invisible hands, and everywhere, eyes were watching him. Aliens stood in silence, lining the paths and gathering at the edge of the pools. Their skin glowed in soft shades of blue and green. Their eyes were wide, shining, but filled with something Daniel recognized: fear. Whispers spread quickly through the crowd. He could not understand the words, but he knew what they were asking. Is he the one? Is this the human? Will he save us? Daniel's chest tightened. He was no savior. He was just a man who had crashed on a dead world. But to them, he looked like something more. The child pulled him forward. Come, she is waiting. At the far end of the village, a great arch of stone rose high, carved with the same glowing symbols he had seen at the cave's entrance. 2 tall guards stood at its base, their eyes sharp and weapons long and curved like spears of light. They watched Daniel carefully, but did not stop him. The child led him through the arch. Beyond it, a wide hall opened, its ceiling lost in shadows. Fires burned in bowls along the walls, sending smoke curling into the air. At the center of the hall stood a figure. Daniel stopped. His breath caught in his throat. She was taller than him by a head, her form graceful yet strong. Her skin shimmered like pale silver, her hair flowing down her back like threads of starlight. Her eyes were deep and piercing, glowing with a calm power that made Daniel's knees weak. This was no ordinary being. This was the mother. For a long moment, she said nothing. She only looked at him, studying him as if he were both familiar and strange. Finally, her voice echoed across the hall, soft but commanding. "You came." Daniel swallowed hard. "I didn't have much choice." The child ran to her side, gripping her hand. "Mother, this is the human. He is the one. He will marry you. He will save us." Daniel felt heat rise in his face. "Oh, wait. Slow down. I don't even know what's going on. I didn't agree to marry anyone." The mother raised her hand, and the child fell silent. She stepped closer, her eyes never leaving Daniel's. "I have been waiting for you," she said. "Long before you walked this desert, I knew you would. Come, the signs told me. The stars told me." Daniel shook his head. "This is madness. I don't believe in signs. I came here by accident. My ship is broken. I was just trying to survive." Her expression softened, but her eyes remained sharp. "Accident? No, the stars do not make mistakes. You are here because you are meant to be." Daniel took a step back. Meant to be what? Her voice grew heavy, as if each word carried the weight of centuries. "Meant to stand at my side, to join with me, to protect this world from the darkness." The word darkness made the chamber tremble. Daniel glanced around, half expecting the shadow from the desert to appear again. He clenched his fists. "I don't even know what this darkness is. Why do you think I can stop it?" The mother's gaze did not waver. "Because you are human. And because you are alone. That is what the prophecy said. A stranger from the stars, without bond, without family, will bring the light we need." Daniel's heart pounded. Prophecies, destiny, marriage, none of it made sense. Yet as he stood before her, something inside him stirred. He could not deny the strange pull he felt in her presence, as if their fates were already tangled together. The silence in the hall deepened. The villagers outside waited. The guards stood still, their glowing weapons ready. Finally, the mother stepped close enough that Daniel could see the faint glow of her skin, feel the warmth radiating from her. Her voice lowered, almost like a whisper meant only for him. "Tell me, human, will you stand with me, or will you leave us to the darkness?" Daniel's lips parted, but no words came. His heart raced, torn between disbelief and the growing sense that his answer would change not only his life, but the fate of an entire world. And in the distance, deep within the cave, a low rumble echoed. The darkness was moving again, waiting for his choice. The great hall fell into silence. Daniel stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. The alien mother's eyes locked on him, glowing with a strange light. Around them, the faint rumble of the earth reminded him that the darkness was never far away. She stepped closer, and the fires along the walls flickered higher, as if answering her presence. Daniel felt the air grow heavy, thick with unseen energy. "You want answers?" she said. Her voice was calm, but carried weight, like thunder hidden inside soft clouds. "Then you must listen. There are things you do not know, things your people could never imagine." Daniel nodded slowly. He wanted to argue, but something in her tone forced him to stay silent. The child moved to her side, holding tightly to her hand. "Mother, tell him why he must stay." Shifted to Daniel again. "Long ago, before your kind even reached the stars, my people lived in peace. We built cities of crystal, lit by the waters of life. But then the darkness came." Her voice dropped lower, and the entire hall seemed to lean closer to her. Words, it was not a beast. It was not a storm. It was hunger, a living shadow. It swallowed whole worlds. Stars vanished into its mouth. And when it reached us, we fought. For generations, we fought. But the more we resisted, the stronger it became. Daniel's hands tightened at his sides. And you expect me to fight this thing? I'm only one man. She studied him, her eyes glowing brighter. You are not only a man, you are human. You carry something inside you that the darkness cannot touch. Daniel blinked. What are you talking about? The mother raised her hand, and light gathered at her palm, swirling like liquid fire. My people have power, but this power is fading. Each time we use it against the darkness, we lose a part of ourselves. Soon, we will be nothing. The flames dimmed in her hand, then vanished. She looked at Daniel with a face that was both strong and tired. That is why we wait. That is why the prophecy speaks of you. A human alone, with no bonds, no chains, no world tying him down. You can join with me. You can give strength to the light where we cannot. Daniel felt the weight of her words crash over him. He wanted to laugh, to shout that it was impossible, but deep down he knew she was not lying. Of the shadows he had seen in the desert were proof enough. He stepped back. So you're saying what? You want me to marry you? To join you? So your power can last? The child tugged his arm, desperate. Yes. If you don't, the darkness will come. It will. Eat us. It will eat you. Daniel looked between them. The mother's eyes were filled with calm certainty. The child's eyes were filled with fear. Why me? He whispered. The mother's voice softened. Because I chose you. And because the stars chose you. When your ship fell from the sky, I knew it was no accident. You are here because you must be. Daniel shook his head. Back home, I was nothing. Just a man with no family, no ties. I came out here because I wanted to escape all of that. And now you're telling me I'm the answer to saving an entire world. Her gaze pierced him, almost reading his thoughts. That is why you were chosen. The man who has nothing left to lose is the man who can give everything. The hall trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling as a deep roar echoed from far beyond. The caves. The ground shook under their feet, and the fires flickered wildly. The child gasped. It's coming closer. The mother stepped forward, placing a hand gently on Daniel's shoulder. Her touch was warm, almost human, but there was strength in it, strength that made his knees weak. You must decide soon, she said. The darkness will not wait. If you stay apart from me, it will devour us all. If you join me, there may still be hope. Daniel's throat tightened. He thought of his empty ship, broken in the desert. He thought of Earth, so far away. He thought of how alone he had always felt, and then he thought of the shadow that had moved across the horizon. The hunger in it, the way it had made the air heavy, the stars dim. Maybe she was right. Maybe he had no choice. But before he could speak, the ground cracked with a sharp sound, like the snap of a giant bone. A scream echoed through the village. Outside the hall, the guards raised their weapons, glowing blades sparking with light. The mother's calm eyes turned toward the sound. But her hand still gripped Daniel's shoulder. The darkness is here, she said, her voice steady. The roar shook the hall like thunder. Daniel's ears rang as stone dust rained down from the ceiling. The fires in the bowls flickered wildly, bending away from the sound, as if even the flames were afraid. Outside, screams rose. The villagers' voices mixed with the clash of weapons and the crash of falling rock. The guards at the arch shouted in their strange language, their glowing spears ready. Daniel's chest tightened. He had seen war before, but this was different. He had never felt the air itself trembling, as if the world's breath had turned heavy. The child clung to his arm. It is here. You must protect my mother. Daniel gritted his teeth. He had no plan, no answers, only his blaster. He pulled it from his belt, feeling its small weight. Against whatever was coming, it felt useless. The mother stepped forward, her tall frame glowing with silver light. "Do not be afraid," she said, though her own voice carried a shadow of strain. "We have faced it before." But Daniel noticed the slight tremor in her hand, the weakness in her glow. She was strong, but not strong enough. The roar came again, closer. Then, silence. It was worse than the noise. The silence pressed against Daniel's chest, cold and suffocating. He could hear his own heartbeat, fast and uneven. He could hear the child's quick breathing, and then the arch at the end of the hall cracked. A black claw, long and jagged, tore through the stone as if it were paper. The guards shouted and lunged forward, their spears flashing with blinding light. The creature pushed through. Daniel's breath caught. 'Twas massive, its body made of shifting shadows, its form never still. One moment it looked like a beast with wings, the next like a crawling serpent. Its face had no eyes, no mouth, only a void that pulled the light from around it. When it moved, the fires dimmed. The glowing crystals along the walls dulled to gray. Even the mother's silver light flickered. "The darkness," she whispered. "It has found us." The guards struck, their spears cutting into the shadow. Flashes of light burned into its body, and for a moment it recoiled. But then the wounds closed, and the shadow grew larger, feeding on the energy. The mother raised her hand. A wave of silver fire burst from her palm, striking the creature and forcing it back a step. The hall shook from the force, and for a moment Daniel felt hope. But then he saw her knees weaken. The light around her body dimmed. The child screamed. "Mother, no." Daniel felt something shift inside him. Fear was still there, but beneath it, a fire, he thought, long dead, began to burn. He could not stand by. He could not watch this mother and child be consumed. He raised his blaster, aimed at the shadow's center, and fired. The red beam shot into the creature, striking where its chest should be. For a split second, the shadow ripped apart, a hole forming in its body. The creature roared, the sound like 1,000 voices screaming at once. The force of it threw Daniel back against the wall. His chest slammed hard, knocking the air out of him, but the shadow staggered. The hole in its body closed slowly, slower than before. The mother looked at Daniel, her eyes wide with something he had not seen before: hope. "Do you see?" she called over the chaos. "You heard it. Only you can." Daniel pulled himself to his feet, his arms shaking. He fired again, then again. Each shot tore through the shadow, slowing it, forcing it back. But his blaster was heating, the energy cell draining fast. The shadow lunged forward, faster than thought. Its claw swept across the hall. One of the guards screamed as his body was torn into the void, vanishing without a trace. The child cried out in terror, clutching Daniel's sleeve. "Don't let it take her." The mother raised her hand once more, her silver fire blazing. She struck the creature with a beam of light so bright it turned the cavern white. The shadow shrieked and fell back, crashing against the far wall. But Daniel saw her collapse to her knees. Her glow dimmed to almost nothing. He rushed to her side, catching her before she fell. Her body trembled in his arms, her breath shallow. "You see now?" she whispered. "Without you, I cannot fight it. Together, we may stand. Alone, I will die." Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at the child, whose eyes were wide with desperate hope. He looked at the shadow, already pulling itself back together, rising. Again, larger than before. He knew the truth, the prophecy, the warnings, all of it. She could not win without him, and maybe, just maybe, he could not win without her. He tightened his grip on his blaster. His voice was hoarse but steady. "Then, we fight together." The mother's eyes met his. For the first time, she smiled. A faint light returned to her skin. The shadow roared, filling the hall with its hunger, and Daniel stood side by side with her, ready to face it. The hall still trembled with the echo of the beast's roar. Smoke from the burned walls hung in the air like a veil, and the faint silver light of the mother flickered weakly. Daniel stood over her, chest heaving, his blaster warm in his hand. The shadow creature was not gonna shifted in the distance, repairing itself, pulling more darkness into its form. Each second, it grew stronger. The child knelt beside the mother, clutching her arm with tiny glowing fingers. Tears shone in its large eyes. She cannot hold it much longer. Human, please, you must save her. Daniel felt the words cut deep. He looked at the mother. Her breathing was shallow, her body trembling. Her glow was fading, like the last spark of a dying fire. She opened her eyes and looked at him. Even weak, her gaze pierced him. "The choice is before you," she whispered. "If you leave me, I will die. If you stay with me, we may live." Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to run. Every part of him screamed to escape, to hide, to find another way. But there was no other way. His ship was broken. His world was gone. And this world, this strange, glowing world, was all that remained. The child grabbed his hand, desperate. "You must marry her. You must join her. If you do, the darkness cannot win. If you refuse," the child's voice broke, "she will die, and so will we." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. Images flashed in his mind. The empty deserts of this planet, the lonely nights back on Earth, the shadows chasing him even. In his dreams, he had spent so much of his life running from people, from bonds, from promises. Now, he was being asked to make the greatest promise of all. He opened his eyes. The shadow beast was moving again. Its massive body scraped against the stone walls, its claws dragging deep marks into the rock. Its presence filled the hall with cold. Daniel clenched his jaw. His voice was rough but steady. "Tell me what I have to do." The mother raised a trembling hand and touched his chest. Her fingers were warm, even through the fabric of his suit. A faint silver glow spread from her touch. "Give me your strength," she whispered. "Give me your bond, if you stand with me, not just as a fighter, but as one with me, then the light will rise." Daniel's heart raced. The word bond echoed in his head. It was more than marriage, more than duty. It was something that would tie him to her forever. He swallowed hard. "And if I do this, what happens to me?" Her eyes softened. "You will no longer be only human. You will be more. But once chosen, there is no return." The child squeezed his hand tighter, its voice pleading. "Please, human, choose us." The beast roared again, louder, shaking the walls until cracks split across the ceiling. Dust and stone fell around them. Time was running out. Daniel looked at the shadow, then at the mother, then at the child. He felt the weight of the entire village pressing on him, waiting for his answer. And for the first time in his life, he realized something. Being alone had never protected him. It had only left him empty. Maybe this was why fate had dragged him here. Maybe this was why he had survived when his ship had not. He took a deep breath, placed his hand over hers, and nodded. "I choose you." The mother's eyes widened. A faint smile curved her lips. Silver light spread from her chest to his hand, then across his body. It was warm, burning, but not painful. His heart raced as the glow wrapped around him, pulling him into her energy. The child cried out in joy. "It's working. He's joining you." The shadow beast shrieked, its formless head turning toward them. It sensed the bond forming and lunged forward, claws raised to strike, but the light surged faster. Daniel felt his body tremble as silver energy coursed through him. his vision blurred with brightness. For a moment, he saw memories that were not his cities of crystal, oceans glowing with fire, skies filled with stars now gone. He saw her world before the darkness, and he felt her pain. Then, his own memories bled into hers. Earth's blue oceans, the empty rooms he had lived in, the silence of space, the loneliness of his heart. She felt him too, their lives wove together in a single pulse of light. The beast struck. A wave of silver energy exploded from Daniel and the mother. The hall shook as the blast hurled the creature backward, smashing it into the stone walls. 4. The first time, the shadow screamed not in hunger, but in pain. Daniel staggered, his body still glowing faintly. He felt different, stronger, faster, alive in a way he had never known. The mother stood beside him, her light blazing brighter than ever. Her eyes locked on the creature. "You are no longer alone," she whispered to him. "We are one." The child looked between them, its face glowing with relief and awe. But the beast was not finished. It rose again, broken but still vast, its form twisting with rage. Daniel raised his blaster. The mother raised her hand. Together, their light pulsed in unison. The true battle was only beginning. The hall glowed with silver fire. Daniel and the alien mother stood side by side, their hands still linked, their bodies shining with one shared light. The shadow beast writhed at the far end, its formless body twisted with rage. The villagers outside the hall had fallen silent, waiting, their fear turning into hope. The mother's voice was calm, but Daniel could feel her power pulsing through him. "Together," she said, "not alone." Daniel nodded. He no longer felt the emptiness that had haunted him for years. Something inside him had changed. His heart beat in rhythm with hers, their breaths rising and falling as one. The beast roared, louder than thunder. Its body stretched, growing larger, filling the hall with its darkness. The fires on the walls died, the crystals turned black. And for a moment it seemed as if the entire world was swallowed, but the silver glow of Daniel and the mother did not dim. It burned brighter. The creature lunged, claws sharp enough to tear stone. Daniel raised his blaster, but this time the weapon was no longer just metal. The silver light flowed through it, charging it with raw energy. He fired, and the blast was brighter than any he had ever seen. The beam struck the shadow, tearing half its form apart. The darkness screamed. The sound shook the air, but it was not enough. The creature pulled itself back together. The mother stepped forward, raising her hand. A wave of fire burst from her palm, joining Daniel's strike. Their powers blended into one, silver and red, twisting into a single storm of light. The blast hit the beast again, ripping through its chest. The shadow staggered, its form crumbling. The child's voice echoed in the hall, full of hope. "It's working. You're winning." Daniel felt the surge of power, but also the weight of it. His chest burned, his vision blurred. He was no longer only human, he was something more, something tied to this alien mother. The bond gave him strength, but it also tied his fate too. Hers, the beast roared again, weaker but not defeated. Its body spread across the ceiling like black smoke, reaching down in tendrils of shadow. The light burned them away, but more kept coming. The mother's hand trembled in Daniel's. He felt her pain, her exhaustion, but also her resolve. She whispered, "We must end this now, or it will never stop." Daniel's voice was rough, but steady. "Then let's finish it." Together, they raised their hands. The silver glow spread, filling the hall, pouring into the stone, the crystals, the very air. The villagers outside fell to their knees, shielding their eyes from the light. The beast shrieked as the glow consumed it. Its form broke apart, cracks of white light splitting its body. For the first time, it looked afraid. The mother and Daniel pressed forward, their power uniting in one final surge. The hall shook, the ground split, and the darkness shattered in two. 1,000 shards dissolving into nothing, silence followed. The fire bowls lit again. The crystals glowed. The hall stood still. Daniel fell to one knee, gasping for breath. His skin still glowed faintly, silver veins of light running across his arms. He looked at the mother. She was radiant again, her strength restored, her eyes glowing like stars. The child ran forward, tears streaming down its face. You did it. You saved her. You saved all of us. The villagers outside erupted into sound cheers, cries, songs that echoed through the cavern. For the first time in what felt like ages, hope filled their voices. The mother bent down, lifting Daniel to his feet. Her touch was strong, steady, unshaken. You are no longer alone, she said softly. You are one of us now. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked around at the village, the people who now watched him not with fear, but with reverence. A stranger, an outcast, had become something greater, but in the back of his mind, a whisper lingered. The voice of the shadow, hungry, promising. This is not the end, he shivered. The beast was gone, but he knew its kind would return. That darkness did not die, only waited. The mother seemed to read his thoughts. Her eyes met his, calm but serious. The union has only begun. The darkness will rise again, stronger than before. But now, you will not face it alone. Daniel exhaled, his chest heavy with both relief and burden. He glanced at the child, smiling with pure joy, and for the first time, he let himself smile. Back, the village celebrated, but Daniel stood quiet, staring into the darkness of the cave beyond the torches. Somewhere out there, in the endless void, another shadow was watching. Waiting. Dot and Daniel knew the truth. This was only the beginning of a war that would decide more than just this world. It would decide the fate of every world, touched by light, swallowed by darkness.